Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Season 10, Episode 38, overall 533 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out their website, barrycullen.com, for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, along with their great selection of all-electric vehicles and Cadillac vehicles as well. You can call the dealership at 519-824-0210 and tell them Chris Palme sent you, or you can email the dealership at info@barrycullen.com. Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership has been family run and operated here in the city of Guelph since 1969, and yours truly has been a customer of Barry Cullen Chevrolet for now 25 years. So if you're looking for a great vehicle or a used vehicle, check out Barry Cullen Chevrolet again at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. They'll take care of you, especially Matt and Greg in the service department as well. I hope everyone is doing well on this. I can't believe it's already Tuesday, May 6, 2025. And before we bring on our guest today, I forgot to mention this on my show yesterday. Congratulations to the Buffalo Bandits on their 11-9 win over the Vancouver Warriors on Sunday night. The Bandits are now advancing to the National Lacrosse League Finals for the 5th straight year, and the Bandits are now 2 wins away from three-peating as NLL champions. And Chase Frazier and In McKay had 3 goals each in the Bandits' 11-9 win over Vancouver Warriors. And Buffalo will play the winner of Saskatchewan or Halifax in the NLL finals starting Friday, May 16th, I believe at 7 o'clock at the KeyBank Center. If you want to go to that game, I would go to bandits.com and get your tickets there. So again, the Bandits are back into the NLL finals for the 5th straight year, trying to three-peat. And congratulations to goalie Matt Vince, who is trying to, for the 2nd time in his career, Hall of Fame career, trying to three-peat as NLL champions as well. So Halifax, Saskatchewan, they play Saturday night game 2 in Saskatchewan. And if the series goes the full 3, they'll play Sunday night in Saskatchewan as well. So Saskatchewan is up 1-0 in that series. And I have a feeling Saskatchewan is going to be playing Buffalo in the NL finals. So we'll see, unless Halifax the Thunderbirds can pull off 2 straight wins in Saskatchewan. It looks like it's going to be a Saskatchewan Rush Buffalo Bandits NL finals. I hope everyone's doing well on this Tuesday, May 6th, and looking forward to my guest today. This is her first appearance, and I met her through another guest, Selena Ella Moon, who was on this show about 6 weeks ago. And my guest's name is Christine Forde. She is a certified life coach, energy healer, psychic medium, knowing for guiding powerful personal and professional transformations since 2017. And we're going to bring Christine on right now. Good afternoon, Christina. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thanks. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Other than the technology difficulties we were talking about off camera, I'm doing okay on this. I can't believe it's already May 6th.
The year is going quickly, and that's how time feels oftentimes, especially when we're busy and we're on purpose.
I tell the younger kids or the high school kids I speak to as a volunteer speaker once a month, I said, just enjoy high school, because once you're out of high school and you're in college, university, it's somebody has a remote control and they hit the fast forward switch.
It's true. You're more present, I think, when you're younger because there's just less to worry about.
Absolutely. And I want to say thank you to Selena Ella Moon for
Yeah.
connecting us. And I want to get your story and how you ended up meeting Selena Ella Moon.
Oh, yeah. That was a great story, actually. So I met Selena around 2016, I think it was, and At the time, I had it was kind of a rough time in my life. So, and she was running these circles, these energy healing circles and connection circles, and she would just teach different things, about just connecting to your soul, connecting to your inner, your intuition, that kind of thing, really simple stuff. For me, anyways, I felt like it was simple to me. But it was really powerful. She really knows how to hold a group space and connect people and bring people together. And like that's her thing is really like that open heart connection with other people. And I think I really loved that. So we did actually have a funny meeting. So I actually met her through someone else, and I saw her on my Facebook, and I was like, "Oh, this girl is doing these energy circles on abundance. That sounds exciting. Like I want to learn about that." And one day she posted randomly, "Oh, I have sweet potatoes that I just made, and I made way too much. Does anybody want them?" And I was like, I commented on the post. I said, "Yes, please, I'll take them." She says, "Well, can you come to Toronto and get them?" And I said, "Well, I was thinking about going to one of your workshops, so this is kind of a divine opportunity." She says, "Yes, sweet potatoes and then an abundance workshop." So I said, "Okay, let's do it." So that's literally how I met her, and it was just such a funny synchronicity. And so that's just kind of how it started. And then I started going to her events, and I've known her essentially since 2016. So now, like, almost 10 years now. So
Wow.
yeah.
I met
Yeah,
I met Selena through TikTok. I joined TikTok 5 years ago, thinking, okay, this is for high school kids, little kids, or
yeah,
whatever. Somebody
yeah.
told me, hey, Chris, try it. TikTok, it gets you more exposure. And I ended up learning how to cut promos for my guests and myself on TikTok. And I've
Mm.
also connected with a lot of guests from TikTok that have come on my show, like Selena, and I guess through you as well, through meeting Selena on TikTok. So it's like any social media; it has its negative aspects, but if you use it the right way, it's a good tool. And this technology really does shrink the world down.
Yeah, it feels like a smaller world in some ways, social media. I mean, it's like I'm still like I have some TikTok stuff out there, but I never really got sort of consistent with it. So, of course, Facebook came out in like what 2006, and then I joined it in like 2008. So, Facebook's been like kind of the place for me to be just because of, it was just related to my younger years, and it's like there's a nostalgia to it now. So, yeah.
So, since we're talking about social media, how much of an impact it had on you being a certified life coach, an energy healer, and a psychic medium?
I feel like it really put me in touch with a lot of people who were also doing that kind of work. Like I didn't really have much of an experience when I was younger, in my own like sort of local circle of people. Especially like, around like 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like around that time. It was just not a thing. And so I was just very much like in just do what everyone else does. I've seen spirit since I was a child. So for me to like, try and fit myself into the box of what everyone else does, or the expectations of the, I guess the matrix world, if you want to call it that. Um, for me, it was like I was just trying to fit in, and I never felt like I was okay as I was. So, around 2011, 2012, when things started to get a little crazier, and at least that's what it looked like to me in the energies, because I did start to awaken my clairvoyance and my clairaudience at that time. Um, I started to also connect with other people who were spiritually gifted, and people who were doing tarot, or oracle readings, or they were doing astrology and all these things, and I did study those things, but they just never like picked up for me the same way that healing work did eventually. And psychic work was just always there. It wasn't like, I have cards, but I don't really need them, because it's more like it's more for my clients to give them sort of touch points, and to give them visuals, which can be really, grounding for a lot of people. But for me, I just see it. So it's not really that like, okay, I'll get a card and it'll be like, okay, focus on this, and it's like that's about all I get from it. And then it's like it opens up this portal of information for me about my client or whatever. So yeah, social media, I feel like, had a huge impact on being able to see that like my gift was valid and that there were people that would actually want to receive it. And so I was able to connect to a global audience essentially over time. And I did it in my own way. I wasn't really like out there in like this sort of big showy way. It was just like I just kind of knew people and I would connect with people, and then I'd connect into the groups and the communities and stuff like that. And so it was a little bit more low key than some of the popular spiritual coaches and healers and stuff like that. So that's been my journey.
Christine, since I have you on, for those people that are watching this live stream or on audio and they're not
Yeah.
sure what an energy healer is, can you just explain to them that?
Sure. So I actually have taken Reiki. So I am actually Reiki level 1 certified at this point. But the thing is, so if some people know what Reiki is, or they've heard of it, it's common enough now that people have a greater idea of what that might be. It's essentially placing your hands on the subject and just over, not touching, but just over, and then moving energy through the body, which can create relief, can reduce pain or tension, can clear blockages in the different chakras, which you've got the root, the sacral, the solar plexus, all throughout the body. And it's known in it's very common in Eastern philosophy to sort of look at that. Traditional Chinese medicine also talks a lot about the energy body. Acupuncture, acupressure really links into the energy lines and energy body. And so I work with the energy body, but I can also look at the emotional body and the mental body, and I can even see into the cellular aspect of the body, which some people would call that more medical intuition. For me, I've had mentors and I've had people who've shown me how to do different techniques to move energy or to remove things that don't belong there, hooks or cords or agreements or just things that aren't aligned for the soul. The soul's like, no, I don't want this, but this is sort of a human pattern that I'm playing out. So human pattern might look like, I always put myself last in every situation. I'm the person who puts myself last. That's a pattern. So that can be hooked into the energy body, and sometimes that can come from other lifetimes even, and that's a whole other level of all of this. So when we're just talking about this lifetime, we're talking about a lot of childhood stuff. And so that those patterns can get ingrained, and it's kind of like playing a broken record, and it just over and over. It's like people who say, oh, I always end up with the same person, I'm always dating the same person, why do I always date the same person, different face, right? But it's not that you're cursed, it's that you've got some sort of a pattern playing out that like is calling you to like actually focus on it. Like if you can work on this pattern and release it, then you don't have to have this experience anymore. Like learn the lesson and let it go. It's not a punishment, it's not bad karma, like you didn't do anything wrong. It's not like that. It's more like what part of you feels that you're having a benefit holding on to this on some level. Maybe for example, sometimes people will interpret love as other people feeling bad for them or sympathizing for them, right? And so this is all gets very nuanced and deep for people depending on what they're dealing with and what we're looking at. And my gift is very much like we started from Reiki, which doesn't really go into this kind of stuff at all, but it's for me, it's more surface. So not that there's anything wrong with Reiki, and Reiki is an amazing modality. I recommend it if it resonates with you. But if you're looking for something more advanced or a little bit more deep, then the way that I do energy healing is kind of the next level of that. And it's not something that I've learned from one particular person. It's more like I've actually had to teach it to myself. And then oftentimes I'll meet mentors and I'll connect with people, teachers and stuff like that. And they'll kind of validate things for me, but it'll be more like, okay, I already knew that, but like now you're telling it to me so that I know it's real for sure. Like whatever I'm doing is the right thing here. And so not that I'm think I'm doing the wrong thing, but you know what I mean? You know, when you're working on something and you're like, I think I know I'm going in the right direction, but I would love somebody to just tell me if I am or I'm not, you know, as somebody who's learning. And I always feel like you never, you know, the master never really becomes, you know, you don't just sit around and do nothing once you've mastered something. You continue to get better and better and better. And that's my opinion about this kind of work, just like anything. You know, it's like you're a great construction worker. It's like one day you're like, yeah, I'm really great at this, but I always know that I can learn more and I can become better at this and more efficient and more effective. And so that's how I perceive my craft as well.
Since I have you on here, Christine, who were some of your biggest mentors and influences? And one thing about what I'm doing, I switched careers 5 years ago during the pandemic, is because I got a taste of broadcasting, and it's kind of a passion, which I can sense that you have a passion for. But also, besides the passion, it's the learning aspect of it too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've had several people that weren't really well-known people, and that's the thing is I never go for these well-known people that their names are well-known in the industry. Um, and I think there's a divine reason for that because it's like I like to look for the sort of the diamond in the rough. It's like, let me just see if I can find the specific person. And oftentimes I would pray and I'd say like, you know, I'd ask the divine source, you know, and I'd say, hey, you know, send me somebody who can help me. And even if I didn't know that's what I was looking for, on some level, I did know that that's what I was looking for. So it's like my soul kind of lined me up with people over the years. So, for example, like I travel to places. So I traveled to the UK in 2015. I was in a really dark time in my life at that point, and I had a friend there, and she said, you know, if you just stay near in my town, I'll just make sure that everything's okay, and we'll hang out and do stuff together, right? So I said, okay, great. The whole thing of me getting there was a crazy story too, but I won't get into that too much. But I will say that when I met this friend of mine in person, and she said, "Oh, what do you want to do?" I said, "Let's meet some people." She said, "Sure. I'd love to connect you with my family. What do you think?" I said, "Okay, sure." So we walked, like basically drove around, and she introduced me to her family. It was really funny. And there was eventually we got to her aunt Bernadette's house, and her aunt was like really connected to the angels. She was a tarot card reader. She did energy work. She, you know, we did some ghost busting, which is basically removing spirits and entities from houses, like hauntings and stuff like that. That kind of thing was always very, oh, like, isn't every house haunted? So when I was a kid, I thought that. But yeah, so we did a lot of that. But like when I met her, she said, you know, I think you should stay with us. And one of the things she said to me is that, you know, you just got to trust yourself more. Like you're very intuitive, but like you just don't think that you're good enough, or you don't trust what you get. You second guess yourself all the time. And so building my confidence in myself was a huge you know, thing for me to work through. And it took me many years to really become confident in what I do and how I do it. But she was the catalyst, I would say, because she had said to me, you know, you're really good at this and you're a healer and this is what you're here for. And you know, people could say stuff like that, but like sometimes when somebody says something and it just hits you in the right way, you're like, that feels true. Like, you know, it's like I had to really use my discernment when she said that, but I felt like she wasn't leading me astray. I felt like it was really true. And so, yeah, I just kind of began that journey. And then a year later, I met Selena. And then in 2017, I was back in the UK. I was in Scotland actually, and I met another mentor there, but again, it was random. It was like I wasn't going there to meet a mentor. I was going there for other personal reasons. And I just happened to find a class that was teaching about mediumship, you know, and I thought, well, I already know about this, but maybe I'll make some friends. And so the lady who ran it, she basically said, you know, yeah, you see a lot of stuff, but sometimes you get deceived by what you see. And I can see that that's a problem for you. So if you come to the class, we'll make sure that you learn how to discern what, you know, what you're seeing and make sure that you're not being fooled by anything. And so that's that kind of naivete that can kind of come in. And if, you know, that it's like having boundaries with anyone or anything, you know, if you always assume that everyone is, is good and they're always well intentioned, you're not always using your discernment, you know? Like, of course, we don't want to assume people have bad intentions, but sometimes they do, and sometimes it's unconscious, and it's not necessarily malicious, but they're just unconscious. And so for me, learning through those classes, it was just like that's what I got out of that. And now I feel like so much more love for the people that I work with, humanity in general, and even the spirits that come to me and say, hey, I got some stuff going on. Can you help me out? Or can you pass a message on to this person? Or this person's really grieving, like but I can't reach them because they're in such a low vibration. So it's just very interesting. Like, I would just pick things up as I went. And so this happened time after time after time after time, where I would just meet people in these very inexplicable, seemingly random ways.
What are some stereotypes and myths of being an energy healer and a psychic medium for those people that are watching?
So, like there's people that don't always have good intentions, and I have met people who are like that. So with energy healing, you want to be careful about, who you're connecting with. If something doesn't feel right to you, it's important that, you use your discernment and you trust that you're getting a weird feeling about it or a weird vibe
Gut
about it
feelings. Your gut
for a
feelings.
reason. Yeah, exactly. You got to trust your gut. You got to trust your instincts. But there's a big difference between that and just being afraid of it in general. So if you're afraid of it in general, that might be another issue. But if you just feel funky about a particular person or a particular place, then I would say that's your intuition warning you about something, or your gut instinct warning you about something. Just like anything, don't go down this dark alley kind of situation. And I guess another potential stereotype is that, well, does energy healing even do anything? Because sometimes people will go through energy healing sessions and say, well, I didn't feel like anything really changed in my life. So sometimes you have to kind of chill your expectations out a little bit, not because it's not possible, but because sometimes that can actually interfere with the work itself. What I find with energy work is it's a surrender process, and you get the best benefit when you're surrendering that whatever is happening here, as long as I'm in integrity with what I'm doing and how I'm showing up, and I feel that the practitioner is operating from the light, they're not operating from some shady, weird energy, then I'm going to trust that whatever is unfolding for me as a result of this session is going to work in my highest good. And I work directly with God, with the divine. So that's just for me, that's my integrity. And with psychic mediums, you know, it's hard to know that a person is seeing what they're seeing. It's like a lot of people, like, they need to see to believe. And for me, I don't really care that much if people don't believe it, because that's their journey as far as I'm concerned. And so I used to feel like I needed to prove it. There was a time where I was more insecure about that kind of stuff. Now I just feel like, that's okay. Like, like, people can go on their own journey, and that's totally fine, and they can have their own experiences. And sometimes people are just not really connected to that world. And I'm the opposite. I was more connected to that world than I am connected to the physical world. And so that's, yeah, another thing, I guess, with psychic mediums is, how do I know I'm not being fooled? Well, again, that comes down to personal discernment. Like, are you able to discern what's true and what isn't for yourself? And at the same time, are you open to something new? And so, yeah, I would say that potentially those are some maybe things that people kind of get in their head about, and they don't think it's legitimate or whatever, but it has a place in the world. It's just that it might not have a place in your life right now.
For those people watching live stream and audio and they're interested in this and they're looking for a certified life coach or an energy healer or a psychic medium, what are some do's and do nots of looking for somebody in your field?
Um, well, I would say, go in with an open mind and an open heart, like, be open to tuning into, like, okay, maybe if I just set an intention that I want to meet somebody like this, um, that's enough for now, because that's the way I do it. Is I don't try to force something to happen. I just set the intention. It's like, okay, I would like to meet somebody who can help me with this in whatever form is the best for me right now. Maybe it's a psychic, maybe it's an energy healer, maybe it's somebody who can do life coaching with them or whatever. So set the intention first. Second, I would say use your discernment. Like, just because somebody approaches you doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right person. Be open to like exploring, but at the same time, if you've already set the intention and you do have a pretty solid relationship with your inner being or your higher self, then generally speaking, you can trust that, like, when somebody approaches you, you can generally feel into that, see how you feel, and trust yourself to make a decision. It's ultimately that, just like, feel it out, see how it feels. If they're, sometimes people get weird about, like, oh, but they're charging money. Well, I mean, people, it's like, if you're a mechanic, do you charge money for being a mechanic? Of course you do. Like, you're not going to fix people's stuff for free, right? This kind of work does take a lot out of practitioners, or can do. But there are people out there who do it for free. I don't know how they sustain themselves, but that's their journey. But yeah, I would say, like, just use your discernment, use your wisdom, use your common sense. If something feels weird, just, take a moment, ask. I would also say ask for referrals, and don't just trust, like, oh, well, my best friend said it, so I should do it. But, like, ask for referrals and see if you can get some reviews of those people. And I would say, in general, that's probably a good, rule of thumb in general. So, yeah, I would say those are some of my do's and don'ts.
Now, your service, just tell us about some of your services, and are they all online or are they in person sessions too?
So mostly I work with an international audience. So I would say mostly I work online. I do a lot of distance healing. It's highly effective. I have done in-person sessions. So for example, sometimes house clearings will be somewhat of an in-person session, but I have also done remote house clearings. I just did one recently in Calgary, and I'm not anywhere near Calgary. So that was pretty cool. But so that's kind of like in terms of that. Generally speaking, I like to do online. Online is easier. It also it creates some distance between myself and the other person, so that we're not all up in each other's space. Because with this kind of work, is it can create a lot of it just feels like it can feel very overwhelming at times. So I do try to keep a very appropriate amount of space between myself and the client, even when I do an in-person session. Um, and I would say, yeah, in terms of like when I do an online session, I do record it on Zoom usually. That's just my preference. And I do make sure that my client receives a copy of their session so they can go back and re-listen to it. A lot of times I'll drop information or insights, or just, ask them really potent, important questions that they need to really sit with and explore with themselves after the session. And give them an opportunity to re-listen to it as many times as they want to. So that's really great. Some of my services, I have like a 6-session coaching package right now that I'm offering. I also have a dating profile scan service. So kind of finding out the vibe of the person that you are maybe wanting to date, or you've been kind of talking with. Something's very interesting to me is that, like, people will often post who they really are, but then people just kind of take it at face value. They don't actually read underneath, and I can read underneath the intention of their words, and also sort of pick up some weird stuff or positive stuff in the photo. Like, yeah, your values and this person's values are actually aligned. And so if you're willing to work through this, or or if you're able to kind of connect to this other aspect of yourself, you're actually going to have a really great relationship, right? It's like, maybe I want to focus more on growth and becoming a more I don't know, a healthy person, for example. So I might match somebody with somebody who is a healthy person, and now we can inspire each other to be healthy together, for example, right? So everyone's got a different intention with that kind of thing. So I really love doing that. I also love working with business owners, and so I do that with either coaching sessions or energy healing sessions. And so that's what I've got right now.
On average, how long is one of your sessions?
Uh, Between 30 and 45 minutes. Any longer, and I find that it's very draining for the other person. They're just like, I need space to like integrate this. So I try not to go too hardcore, but that's just my gift is I bring a lot of information. I bring a lot of energy through. So, and of course the person has full sovereignty over their body, over what they receive. They can say no, they can say yes. There's nothing that's forced, and everything that I do is directly related to what that person's soul has already asked for. And I do prior to my sessions, I connect with that person's soul and I ask them, what do you need right now? What would help you the most right now? And, in terms of achieving your goals or overcoming your particular problem. Maybe it's a problem with sales or a problem with confidence, or, I don't really know how to be myself with my partner. I always feel like I'm tiptoeing around them, stuff like that. See, these are very specific kinds of examples, and that's what I love. Is I love looking into the nuances and the specifics and looking at relationship dynamics, whether it's between yourself and your partner, a potential new partner, or your finances or your business. Like, there's always different dynamics happening between those things.
I wanted to ask you this too, since you brought up relationships and dating. Do you find that social media over the last 2 decades has shrunk people's people skills? And what are your thoughts on dating online? I've tried it a couple times and it just hasn't been my cup of tea.
Yeah, dating online is interesting. I've dated online quite a bit, and I just find it kind of like you said, you don't know what you're going to get because people like to present one way and then show up another way, and which is why I feel like the service that I'm bringing out now is going to be really helpful for people, because it's like we want to be able to see through people's sort of, oh well, this is what I'm like, it's like no drama, for example. They write on their profile, no drama. Okay, you know what that really means? It means this person has a lot of drama going on, and there's no space for your drama, lots of space for their drama. And they're not dealing with it probably. So they're like completely avoidant to the fact that they've got all this drama going on. So see what I mean? You can type one thing, but it doesn't necessarily mean what you assume it means. And so I like to sort of dig into that. But I would say, yeah, generally speaking, people have a really hard time communicating and just being themselves. And I think that's lost. And that's why I love what I do, because, that really forces people to step into like, you know what, I'm going to be me, and I'm going to be me regardless of what the other person does. However they react, whatever their emotions are about this, that it just is what it is, and I'm not going to make it about me. And so we have to kind of navigate this stuff a little bit more, because I would say there's a lot of emotional immaturity in people these days. It's like I'm so triggered. It's like, okay, triggered doesn't give you a pass to just be a jerk. Like you got to actually have some emotional maturity and willingness to face yourself and face your own triggers. And so if you're getting people who are like that, then there's probably something to look at, in your energy, to see why that's happening, and b, okay, let me just focus on releasing this, working through this, and then maybe I can start to attract better kinds of people, because we are a mirror of what we're attracting on a certain level, even if it's not obvious. Sometimes it's very subconscious.
Well, for me, I find social media has diminished people's social skills. And in dating and
Um,
relationships, you hear these terms: breadcrumbing, love bombing, and
yeah.
ghosting. And ghosting doesn't just apply to dating too. It applies to work and a lot of things. And I just think if you have an issue with somebody, you should try to talk talk it out with them. Nowadays, it's just too easy. We'll ghost them and pretend they never existed.
Yeah, and that's just it's too bad because I don't think we meet people by accident. I have the belief that the people that are brought to us or that we go to, there's a reason that they're there. It's not random. It's not like they're an empty person. And I think sometimes we treat people like there's nothing there, like, oh, you're just air. And I think that's really disconnecting because on some level, do you think that of yourself? Like, do you feel that about yourself that you don't matter? And that's where I would go with that kind of line of questioning. But, and that can be a thing, for some people who are having a hard time connecting and communicating and even having good conversations that might have some conflict. Like, it's okay to have conflict. It's okay to disagree with other people, but can you come to a point where you don't necessarily agree, but you can respect each other and you can appreciate each other for what other things that they might be offering, and potentially, like, even as you grow, like, maybe you can even see things from that other person's perspective, kind of put yourself in their shoes, and just like, I can kind of see where you're coming from. I still don't feel that way. My experience has taught me something different, but I see where you're coming from and I still respect you, and I still feel like I'd like to have further conversations about this. And then maybe, you end up having those breakthroughs. It's like you can't have a breakthrough without, as they say, a breakdown. And a breakdown is just that, oh, it's not working. Oh, we're in a stuck energy. Oh, I don't agree. And this person is just always going to be this way. Like, okay, pause for a second and just be open. Like, well, what else could be here? What else could we look at together? And what's another way to approach this? What's another way to consider how to move forward? And maybe it is time to take a step back and just see, okay, where am I kind of being a little bit too smothering or nagging on this person, or vice versa. Maybe I'm trying to control things a little bit too much. So it's kind of looking at our own habit patterns and behaviors. I feel like right now we're in such a time where we're being asked to sort of examine ourselves, because the alternative is just being like a zombie and walking through life like a total victim, like, oh, the world's out to get me and everybody hates me and all the people I've dated are jerks. And it's like, okay, that's a huge cop out. Like, you gotta actually face the fact that you and this other person are, and you and maybe other people have had similar problems. What are the patterns, and can you start to grow and overcome this kind of stuff?
One of the words I wanted to use is there's some people out there that always play the victim, that everything that happens in their life is somebody else's fault. They don't take accountability. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Oh, it's a huge problem. I recently had a group membership program that I just recently ended. It was like 31 weeks of healings and insight drops, and it was really powerful. But one of the weeks we covered, the triangle of hell, as they call it, which is basically the savior, the villain, and the victim. But the thing is, in that, when you're playing that game, you're playing roles. And so the roles can either teach you a lesson, or you can continue just to play the same thing over and over again. But the ironic thing that out of all those three things, all three roles are a victim in some capacity. And that's the whole thing. Is it's like once you've stepped out of the victim stuff, you're going to be really turned off by it, and you're not going to want to work, be around people who are constantly doing that. I find that to be true. Um, yeah, but people just want to be able to say, like, it's not my fault, it's not my responsibility, it's their fault. Yeah, but like, that might be true. Like, I'm not invalidating that maybe somebody's a jerk or somebody's acting really like crazy. But the problem is that it doesn't do anything. Like, okay, so it's their fault. Now what? Like, can you do anything with that? Can you move forward from that? Can you grow from that? Like, I mean, it's like now you've written this person off as the jerk or as somebody who's victimizing you. Now what? Where do you go from here? And so if instead you say, you know what? Yeah, that was a crummy situation and I hated that. And also, I'm going to step up my boundaries. I'm going to step up, like, being more confident in myself. I'm going to step up the standards that I have in my relationship. And at the same time, I'm going to look at the parts of me that maybe they were showing me that weren't so glamorous, because we all have parts of us that are not glamorous. We all have parts that are shadows. And so if you can look at your shadow and you can say, you know what, this is a sort of an icky part of me, but I'm going to try and like learn how to become more neutral towards it, and also maybe curious about it and just understand it better. And when we get to that place, we can start to work through like a healing process. But if we're just completely closed off to that and saying, no, I'm perfect, or, oh yeah, I'm sort of not perfect, but like those things aren't really an issue. It's like, no, you got to really become more humble and say, look, I know I'm not perfect, and that's okay. And I'm going to work on those things. I'm going to look at those things. I'm going to acknowledge those things. And I'm going to try and make peace with those things. And then I can start to transform them.
How satisfying is it knowing that you've been able to help people?
It's like the best feeling. Honestly, it's like I feel like so fulfilled when I can help somebody have a breakthrough and just hold the space for them to just see that they were always worthy. They were always able to step into higher levels of confidence. They were always able to be successful in their lives. They were always able to move on to a new relationship, or let go of something that they've been really holding back. That to me is just the magic, and me having and being part of that impact just feels like a little gift from the divine for me. So I just always feel like really happy about that and satisfied. And I would still do what I do even if people didn't tell me whatever happens with them. But it's nice to know that, it's like, no, hey, I had one client who said to me, we worked together for several months, and her daughter was going through some really hard times with drugs and alcohol addiction and stuff like that. And she said one day, after we'd finished working together, she said, my daughter actually had a complete turnaround after we worked together. Now, I didn't work on the daughter, I worked on the mother. And so she said, I stopped kind of doing all the things I was doing. And now all of a sudden my daughter's starting to change, and now she's starting her own business. And like, it's just amazing, because it's not just about the person I'm serving, it's all the people that they have an impact on. It could be their family members, it could be their business, it could be their boss, their coworkers, it could be their clients, and it's just, as soon as we clear some of that stuff that's been getting in the way, all of a sudden the energy just flows, and all of a sudden you can just bring your magic in the way that it was always meant to be brought.
Christine, you mentioned this just a minute ago, and this is something I'm still working on, is letting go of the past. It's okay to remember the past, but you also need to let it go. And I'm now looking at life as like a book. One chapter of your life is over and a new chapter starts. And that's how you get to look at it with your careers, with friends, coworkers, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not easy, and funny enough, I just had a conversation with somebody who used to sit with the dying. Like, that was her. She was an RN, and she would sit with people who were basically terminal, and she would sit with the dying. And she said their family members would come in and not know what to do or how to handle it, because they were really struggling with being confronted with, I'm going to lose this person. This chapter of my life of having this person to rely on is going to be gone. What do I do with myself? Like, I don't know how to cope with the emotions I'm feeling, the guilt, or I should have done this and I wish I had done that. And the fact is that we're always doing the best we can with what we know in the moment. If there was an alternative that we were aware of at that time, there's a good chance we would have done that thing if we felt that that was the best decision. But I believe that, like, we are doing our best. And then when we find out afterwards, like, oh, I really could have done that better, and here's all the alternatives that I missed. It's like, now for the next time you can do that, right? But it's kind of like, that's what I feel is a big part of letting go of the past is letting go of the should haves and would haves. And it's like, no, you're exactly where you're supposed to be right now. If you weren't where you were supposed to be, you wouldn't be here, you'd be somewhere else. And so being present with where you are and then making a decision. Well, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm okay here. I'm still alive. I still have choices. I can still move forward in some way. And as long as I know that, because it's just up to me to make a decision inside of myself ultimately, then I'm willing to do what I need to do to make that happen. And you can keep moving forward. But if you stay stuck in the past, it's like half of your brain is somewhere else, and you're not using your full capacity to, connect with ideas and ways of being that are different. Your creativity gets cut off when you're sort of in this sort of I'm here but not really here because I'm still in the past. But if you're all here, you have access to everything that is inside of you in your consciousness, and then all the things can open up, all the doors can open up to something new and something better.
Christine, do you still have a few more minutes? I have a couple more questions for you.
Sure.
Can you tell us about the life coach aspect of this and the importance of being certified and what the process is like being a certified life coach?
Yeah, so life coaching is actually somewhat of a newer modality for me. I haven't always done that. Um, so what I really came to terms with was that as a healer, I wasn't always doing a service to every single person that I worked with. Some people are very energetically sensitive and they're able to receive energy healing like that. And it's no problem. It just goes in and they're good. With other people, it's like they have a lot of mental stuff that they need to work through. And it's almost like they need to be able to see how to have their own breakthrough in the moment. So me telling them the answer to something or giving them the guidance on what to do about a situation doesn't always feel like it's coming from them, even if it's coming from their soul and I'm just basically voicing what their soul is saying to them. They don't feel like it's theirs. And so when they're when I'm doing life coaching, this is working with people on a much more mental level who are like, no, I need to know that it was my decision, it was my answer, it was my solution, and I can now make the decision and see, oh, I was playing out that pattern and now I see it myself. It's not because Christine told me it was there, right? It's like there's a much more empowering approach to that, and a much more like the responsibility for your transformation is on you now, and it's up to you to make a decision about letting yourself become aware and then making a decision about what you're going to do moving forward. Because like I said, all the energy healing in the world for some people just won't do anything because they're not actually willing to change. And what I find with life coaching is it actually facilitates more change. So for me, I took that course with this program out of the UK from a company called She's in Business, and it supports women entrepreneurs who are wanting to sort of really step into a much more powerful approach. And they have a couple of coaching courses available that I just had this sort of divine opportunity. I wasn't even looking for it, and it just somebody sent me a message one day, said, hey, are you interested in doing this? I was like, I don't know. And then I checked in with myself and it was like, oh, that's divine. Yep, I'm supposed to move in that direction. And so it was like a 4-week kind of program for the initial sort of level 1 certification. I'm still working on level 2 and 3, but it was really powerful because it really brought me to this awareness of like, wow, I can witness somebody having a transformation in the moment and just hold space for watching them go through it as I ask them things that are really potent and poignant for them to explore within themselves and see the sort of dawning of awareness, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was doing this all this time. Like that's like it just fills me with so much joy because it's like, okay, now that you know this, you can actually do something with it and it feels like it's yours and now you can claim this change.
For me personally, I think in the last 5 years with my new career change, I've
Mm,
kept more of an open mind. And also, you have to be willing to step out of your comfort zone as well if you want to grow into any career
yeah.
or into a relationship or friendship as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you mentioned, doing this broadcasting work, and being kind of the guy who does all the things, creates all the content, does the production, does the filming. Like, that's a huge responsibility. If you work for somebody else and they just you just have a job, you work from, 8 to 5 or whatever,
Yeah,
9 to 5.
one thing. Yep, yep.
Yeah, but it's like it's a totally different level of responsibility and accountability that you have to take, and that, I think, is the biggest aspect of growth, is having to do this thing for yourself. Going into personal development is like, almost all entrepreneurs do it because they need to.
Absolutely. And I love this. To me, this isn't work, it's a passion. But also, too, I don't want to be judged based on my age. I want to be judged based on the
Mhm.
body of my work, the
Yep.
quality of my guests and my shows. And this goes for any career. Never judge someone based on their age. Judge them based
Yeah.
on their character and personality.
I agree. Because I've had life coaches that were like 22 years old. Okay, the one of time, this was several years ago, I had a 22-year-old life coach, and a friend of mine said to me, "Oh, what does a 22-year-old life coach know?" Like, and he was like in his late, mid 30s at the time, and I was just thinking to myself, like, well, I mean, you're not very open to growth if and you're kind of judgmental of somebody who's doing this work. And yeah, maybe she's got some things to learn, but clearly she knows something. There are people that are going to her. There are people that are having breakthroughs. I've read the testimonials. I've talked to the people. I've personally experienced this girl's work. I know she's the real deal because I've had breakthroughs. So you're right. Whether you're young, whether you're older, it doesn't matter. If it, like you said, like, let's judge people on the content of their character, on the body of work, on their integrity to the work that they are providing, and and the people that they are impacting too. It's like, if you've got a lot of people saying, this person's great and they're so good at what they do, maybe, sometimes people have a bad experience, but like, if overall it's like 95% good and 5%, okay, maybe they were having an off day, I would say, generally speaking, that person is really in integrity with what they're doing. And so, I agree with that. Don't judge based on age, because we all bring something to the work that we do. There's a reason that we're called to it when we're called to it. So you're not behind and you're not ahead. You're exactly where you're supposed to be.
Hey, before we wrap this up, Christine, I have a YouTube video from your YouTube channel, and I was going to play it here right now. Just let me know if you can hear the audio okay. And we'll just check it 1 second. We'll play it right here. And this is from your YouTube channel.
I'm able to
Sorry,
I'm able to think
technical. Yep.
differently. But when I'm stuck in the cycle of this money situation is giving me a hard time, this money situation is ruining my life, this is taking my freedom away, this is making me feel disempowered, this is making me feel like I'm not good enough, etc., then it's like you can't create anything new from that, because you're in like a cycle of like toxic thoughts. And so it's like those toxic thoughts are just going to continue to cycle over and over again until you're like, okay, hang on a second here. Why am I participating in this? Like, why am I choosing to put thought and energy into this? What if I brought it back to me? What if I gave all that energy back to myself and reconnected to my higher aspect, and to my human, and to my sense of play and joy and freedom that's already innate? If I do that, then I'm open to creative solutions. I'm able to think.
Thoughts on that video, and how can my audience follow you and follow you on your YouTube channel?
Yeah, so, oh my goodness, that was probably 3 years ago now, and I was teaching in this group called the Power Codes group. I think we've closed that since. I was co-hosting it with somebody else who's kind of gone off in another direction completely. But so that just brings back memories. But I feel like that message kind of circles back to some of what we were talking about today, and I guess that just says a lot that, I've been talking about the same stuff for like ever, it's not like new stuff is really coming in. It's like I'm talking about very similar things, but it's being applied in all different unique ways and different angles. Because I do believe in our ability to create a life that we love and that we're excited about. And it's not always going to be perfect, and that's not the point. The point is the growth. The point is, like, have I improved since last time? And or have I totally changed directions? And you know what? I'm an expert in something completely different than I was 5 years ago. So for me, yeah, that kind of brings it back full circle. But at that time, I was really focusing on money codes. I call them money codes, and so that was really fascinating. It's another way of connecting with what I call the divine money blueprint, and that's a whole other show, I think. But this work is applicable in everything. It's applicable in your sales strategy, with your sales team, with with your personal life, with your dating life. It's just, and this is where I kind of go like, oh, like I should niche, and it's like, but it's like I can really meet people where they're at, and that's my gift, and I've decided to just honor that and respect that, because it's like I could fight this for the rest of my life, but honestly, I don't want to, because I just want to help people. I just want to see people grow into who they were meant to be, and who they've been, their heart has been basically calling them to become, which is, nothing new. It's just something that's been covered or hidden or forgotten about. And so, yeah, that's just a little bit about that. And you can find me on Instagram. I would say that's like probably my most active social media. So Christine Forde Alchemist, Ford with an E. um, and yeah, that's you can also find me on Facebook if you're a Facebook person. And on YouTube, I think my handle is, I think it's Christine Forde Alchemist as well. So yeah, you can find me there as well, and check out some of the stuff that I've posted. I'd like to be posting more in the coming little while. Going to be working with a social media person soon. So yeah, I'm very excited, and I'm so grateful. Thank you for having me, and thank you just for allowing me the opportunity to share all of this.
Finally, last question. I do this with all my guests. What are some fun facts about Christine Ford? And do you have a question for the host CDP?
Yeah, okay. So I guess something fun about me is, well, astrologically, I'm a Pisces sun, and I've always had this strong connection with the mermaids. And so, I do connect with the mermaids at times, and I know that's kind of a funny thing, but anytime I'm near water, I can feel that energy. And I guess something else that's kind of fun about me is, um, I love to travel, and I kind of alluded to that a little bit in the show, but I love having opportunities to travel, because oftentimes they are a completely magical and unexpected experience that I could not have planned to save my life. um, yeah,
Favorite?
and what's
Go
that?
ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, just for a question for you. What are you most excited about this year?
Just to continue to get opportunities and keep improving and keep learning, improving,
Mm,
learning, and continue to get more opportunities. And sometimes in the media industry, you're going to have setbacks, but I
mm,
don't believe in the word failure. I just look
mhm.
at the word temporary setback. So I just want to keep improving, keep learning, and continue to get opportunities and to grow as a broadcaster, and hopefully get this show back on a radio station again, or to grow my business from home.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, what a dream that is, and I totally feel it's possible.
And what I love about the show is the learning aspect, but the story
Mm.
and connecting with my guest as well. And one of my guests was on a year ago. She's a Reiki practitioner. Her name is Carrie Kaufman. If you ever want to connect with her too, she's an entrepreneur, but she's a Reiki practitioner, and I learned some of Reiki from her.
Oh, Reiki is so powerful. I love when people are open to these kinds of modalities, because it's not for the select few. It's possible for anyone to learn these things if they have the right intention in their heart. And technique wise, it's not that hard to do. So you can do it. And, I think more people should learn about the power of Reiki, because it's kind of like just working with your own body. It's like if you were to train in the gym, like, do you always need to go to a trainer? No, you could look up an exercise thing online and learn how to move your body properly. Why not move your energy with more intention and have a much more enjoyable experience in your life?
Finally, Christine, any plans for your own website at some point too?
Yes, I would like to get that all set up. I'm in the process of it. It always seems to be perpetually under construction, but I am working towards getting some more support around the more technical aspects of my business. I've done a lot of work with referrals recently, and I've done a lot of work with just sort of the people that I've already cultivated in terms of my current audience. So I'm really looking to step into more of onto a bigger platform, if you will, in terms of like connecting with a bigger audience. So it's something that has to get done. And so my intention is to get that sorted out in the next couple of months.
And what's the best way for people to contact you via either email or a cell number or a business number?
Yeah. So you can connect to me on Instagram if you want to, but you can also email me at hello@christineford.com.
All right. Well, Christine, I want to say thank you so much for giving us over an hour of your time today, and continued success in doing your life coaching and being an energy healer and a psychic medium. I would like to try that one day. I'm open to new opportunities, so I might end up having to contact you about trying that.
Absolutely. I'd love to have you. I think it would be amazing. And I think you would learn a lot through the experience about yourself and about your own energy.
Well, thank you so much. And give me a little bit of time, and I will send you the video, the audio, and some reels clips, 30 to 45-second clips as well. And I will tag you on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook as well. And you have an open invite to come back on Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show again in the future.
Thank you so much. I would love to come back and talk about all the things.
Well, and thank you to Selena for connecting us as well.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you to Selena. That was such a I've met so many great people through her. It's been such a blessing.
Well, you have a good rest of the afternoon, and we'll definitely keep in touch with you on social media. And thanks for coming on today. Really enjoyed talking to you.
You too. Thank you so much again. Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys, that concludes season 10, episode 38, overall 533 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership here in Guelph. I have another announcement to make too before we wrap up this show. The next Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored again by BarryCullen.com, is going to be on Wednesday, May 7th. At 7 p.m. Eastern with my special guest, Tracy Walker. She is a contracts administrator and a paralegal based out of Atlanta, Georgia. So tomorrow night, Wednesday, May 7th at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 on the West Coast, with Tracy Walker. And as we wrap up our show, guys, as always, Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet here in Guelph. Right now at Barry Cullen Chevrolet, check out a 2025 Equinox LT all-wheel drive midnight edition, lease from $218 bi-weekly. That's like $109 weekly at 5.5% interest for 48 months with $3,900 down payment on an ultra-low kilometer lease. More details at barrycullen.com or drop by Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall, and tell them that Chris Palme sent you as well. Also, I am on Cameo. If you'd like to book a personalized video message for me, go to cameo.com/Chris D. Palme and make sure you book your Cameo today. I am also now on Blue Sky Social at Live with CDP 19 on Blue Sky Social if you'd like to follow me there as well. Again, you can follow Christine on Instagram, Christine for Chemist, and you can also follow her on her Linktree page, Money Mermaid Christine, and she is at Christine for Deal Chemist on YouTube and TikTok as well. So please follow Christine Forde on her social media pages as well. If you're looking to adopt a pet, check out the Cambridge and District Humane Society at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. Telephone number 519-623-7722, extension 0, or visit their website, cambridgehumanesociety.org. One of my buddies down there was adopted today, Tuffy, a beautiful black lab, was adopted by a family, and Tuffy went home. And I love being a volunteer there. I volunteer there twice a week. And if you're looking to volunteer with the Cambridge District Humane Society like I am, go on to cambridgehumanesociety.org and fill out their volunteer application form right now. And also, guys, they're looking for donations. They're looking for cat litter. They're looking for bedding, towels, cat toys, dog toys. And also, every Wednesday at the Cambridge District Humane Society, for those people who are struggling financially in the Cambridge area with the cost of pet food, they have a pet emergency fund. So if you're able to donate dog food, pet food, or even cash donations, that would be greatly helpful as well. And they are in need of puppy food down at the Cambridge District Humane Society. They also have an Amazon wish list. So if you go on cambridgehumanesociety.org, they should have a link to the Cambridge Humane Society's Amazon wish list as well. So whatever you can do in terms of cash donations or food donations would be greatly appreciated. They do. Michelle Glatley and the staff of the Cambridge District Humane Society do a wonderful job down there with our forever furry friends, getting them homes with families as well. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, again, is live streamed on these platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram. Fingers crossed one day StreamYard will be on TikTok. So make sure you follow me on these platforms as well to catch Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. You can check out my website on beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. I am back on TikTok. I am a content creator. I'm a full-time TikTok content creator, and you can follow my new page at Chris Palme on TikTok and check out my content. And I do post reels of my shows on TikTok. So at Chris Palme, make sure you follow and hit the like notification. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. If you're into webinars or podcasting, check out StreamYard.com. They have basic free plans, paid professional plans, and they also have business plans. If you do a lot of live streaming for your business, go to StreamYard.com and contact the sales department for business pricing as well. And I've been with StreamYard now for over 4 years. Big thumbs up to StreamYard. Finally, guys, Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, the audio versions on these platforms: iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, Tuned In, YouTube Music, and Good Pods. And make sure you subscribe and hit the like notification. And I have almost 9,000 listeners on my audio platforms. And I want to say thank you to everyone today listening to the show on these audio platforms. Finally, guys, you can email Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show at cpalme19@gmail.com. Any comments, questions, suggestions, feedback would be greatly appreciated. And if you'd like my work, if you like my talk show work and my media work, you can tip the host, that's me, Chris Palme, through PayPal at cpalme19@gmail.com if you ever wish to tip me through PayPal to support Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show and CDP Media Productions as well. Finally, guys, you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, X. I'm on Threads, Instagram, LinkedIn, Blue Sky Social, and also to my I want to say thank you to my 596 subscribers on YouTube and to my 390,000 viewers on YouTube. If you already haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe and like notification. And I just need 4 more subscribers That's 4 more for the magic 600 YouTube subscribers. So I really appreciate you subscribing and liking my YouTube channel as well. And I do post a lot of good content there as well. And before we wrap up this show, guys, again, congratulations to John Tavares and the Buffalo Bandits going to their 5th straight NLL finals and going for a three-peat after their 11-9 win over Vancouver this past Sunday night, led by Chase Frazier's 3 goals and Ed McKay's 3 goals. The NLL finals will start Friday, May 16th at 7 o'clock. Game 1 will be at the KeyBank Center. Their opponent to be announced, as the other semifinal right now is only been played 1 game, which Saskatchewan winning, I believe, 14-7 over Halifax. So for Halifax to beat Saskatchewan and advance to the NL finals, they're going to have to win game 2 and game 3 in Saskatchewan on the road. So right now, I would say it's going to be a Saskatchewan Buffalo NLL finals, but who knows? I'm not going to count out Halifax yet, but they have a tough road now, having to win game 2 and 3 on the road in Halifax. But hey, anything's possible. And look at basketball last night. The Oklahoma Thunder lost, the Cleveland Cavaliers lost, and the Boston Celtics lost. And being a Pistons fan, I have a lot of respect for this New York Knicks team, and I feel the Knicks team can upset Boston in this series. I really feel New York Boston is going to probably go 6 or 7 games. I would say 7 games, and I really like the way the Knicks team is playing, and we'll see. It's a big game 2 for Boston coming up. And before we wrap this up, guys, we've got Tigers baseball tonight. The Tigers finish off their 11-game road trip with a 3-game series at the Colorado Rocky. And I believe Tarek Skudrow starts tonight for the Tigers, 22-13 as well. And that is about it. Again, I want to say thank you to my guest, Christine Forde, for coming on today. She is a certified life coach, energy healer, and psychic medium out of Hamilton, Ontario. Please follow her on our social media pages. And looking forward to my next episode tomorrow, season 10, episode 39. Overall 534 with my special guest, Tracy Walker, contracts administrator and paralegal out of Atlanta, Georgia. So I hope everybody has a great rest of the afternoon, great evening, and enjoy the NBA playoffs, the Stanley Cup playoffs, and of course, Major League Baseball. So I hope everybody has a good afternoon, good night, and we'll see you back here tomorrow at 7 o'clock with Tracy Walker for another edition of Live with CDP Sports Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet here in Guelph. Good night, everybody.